Now on Coast TV News.
Ballots and budgets. With just 1 week until school board election day, Cape Henlopen candidates sound off on hot topics. Change in plans. The town of Camden quietly signed on to help with immigration enforcement. Why officials dropped the deal not long after. And late night limits. After reports of rowdy behavior, Rehoboth Beach considers a curfew. But some locals say it's too much.
This is Coast TV News at 11.
The campaign signs are out, and Cape Henlopen School Board candidates made their case to voters tonight. Good evening. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Welcome to Coast TV News at 11. We begin tonight with school board elections. They're just 1 week away, scheduled for May 13th. And tonight, Cape Henlopen candidates answered a variety of questions in a public forum. 2 candidates are running for the at-large seat, Chris Lovenguth and current board member Bill Collick. For the District C seat, 3 candidates are in the race. It's Patty Mall, Laura Parsons, and Andy Lewis. Lewis was not at tonight's forum. One key issue on the table, school funding, especially after 2 failed referendums in Cape Henlopen last year. Here's what the candidates had to say about that.
I want to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that our schools are properly funded. We look down the road, we're going to have to look at property somewhere simply because we don't simply, we're going to have to build more. We just are.
So we have to be upfront with the community to let them know what the money's going for, making sure that the money is processed towards the students so the students get a quality education.
We must depend on our local county council to help us by imposing an impact fee for all new builds so that when we are in the situation that we are in now with not being able to pass a referendum, we can count on the impact fees.
Referendums tend to be only voted on by a small minority of the population. I believe that if these processes were something that occurred more frequently and done in a different way, then the rate of increase would be smaller and better accepted by the community.
Now, there's also races in the Indian River School District. Again, the election is set for Tuesday, May 13th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can see a full breakdown of the Indian River and Cape Henlopen School District's races and more. Just go to coasttv.com. Now to Kent County. New tonight, the town of Camden has now dropped an agreement to help federal authorities with immigration enforcement. They're dropping the agreement, they say, because so many people were upset about it. About a week ago, the town signed a deal with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, allowing local officers to help with immigration enforcement. The agreement was never publicly announced, and it only came to light during a council meeting days later. Community members and advocacy groups quickly expressed frustration, saying the public should have been informed. Now, less than 24 hours after that backlash, the town officially withdrew from the agreement.
Until last week, Delaware was one of 4 states that had neither an active 287G agreement nor had, publicly and legally, legislatively banned entering into 287G agreements.
Now, the mayor of Camden reportedly says he was in full support of the agreement. He says the town signed on simply to obey the law. Meanwhile, today marks the start of the 9th week of the legislative session in Delaware, and Representative Stell Parker Selby from the Milton area has missed every day this year after a medical event happened sometime during the winter. This photo sent by Democrats show Parker Selby's swearing-in ceremony at home. She's notably in a wheelchair, which she wasn't before. Now, in late March, the House Speaker told Coast TV she was looking forward to having Representative Stell Parker Selby back in the hall, quote, very soon. But that still hasn't happened. And many viewers have been asking us why Representative Stell Parker Selby can stay in office and continually be absent. Here's what we have learned. Delaware Code says while in session, a special election can be called by the Speaker of the House, which Democrats have made very clear they have no plans of doing. If the legislature is not in session, the governor may issue a writ of election to fill a vacancy. But here's the thing. Since Democrats say Parker Selby was sworn in at home, her seat is not vacant, so no one can vote in her place. Republicans tell us they are researching what other states do in instances like this where a lawmaker is continually absent and there are fears that they can no longer perform their duties. All this brings us to our Coast TV poll tonight. We want to know how you are feeling about District 20's leadership. Let's take a look at the updated results tonight. Take a look at your screen. You can see 89% say they're frustrated, 3% confused, 7% unconcerned, 1% being patient. We also have a comment tonight. It's from Joyce in Lewis. He says he feels Democratic leadership has abandoned the district. If you haven't voted yet, you still can. It's not too late, and we really want to know what you think, so go over to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Now we're taking a live look outside into Lewis, and our First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams joins us with a look at the weather. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Christina. And we're relatively mild for the rest of the evening hours. Now, we will see the cloud cover going on the increase as we go into the late night and early morning hours. In Salisbury, for example, we're going to stay clear till about 3 o'clock, and then the cloud cover will begin to kind of slowly just kind of morph its way into our area. And the moisture content is going to go up a little bit, making it feel a little bit warmer, but not by much. We had a warm day. I mean, we had a high of 80 degrees in Georgetown, 80 for the high in Salisbury. Now, keep in mind, Georgetown, the record high is actually 91. So it wasn't a record breaker, but it was well above the 72, which is the norm for this time of the year. Right now, we are in the 60s. We're at 66 degrees in Lewis, Rehoboth, Indian River Inlet, and 65 Bethany Beach. But we're also at 66 degrees right now in Georgetown, and we're at 63 degrees in Laurel. Here's a look at our live radar, and a lot of inactivity and lack of activity happening across the Delmarva Peninsula. Now, coming up, we'll talk more about your full forecast. Till then, back to you.
Thank you, Paul. Well, Rehoboth Beach police were called multiple times this past week after large crowds of young adults were reportedly causing trouble. Coast TV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us how police say one of the scenes involved violence. Now the city is considering implementing a curfew.
The beach. It's a place you go to relax. But in Rehoboth, that's been hard to do after a string of recent reported ruckuses caused by young people. Littering, loud music, parking violations, smoking violations, and even fighting. That's according to the Rehoboth Beach Police.
I don't like to see it. I'm at an age that I don't want to be a part of it or be around it.
I don't like seeing that. I have a family, I have a daughter.
Locals Jim Henson and Xavier Serrano agree on that, but now the city is debating an emergency curfew. Henson is all for it.
Protecting the elderly, because there's a lot of elderly people in Rehoboth. Mostly older people, and I don't think why should they have to worry about trouble?
But Serrano thinks that's too much and says he would rather see security or police on the beach.
I would want people to have the freedom to come to the beach and be here however long they want.
For now, a curfew is just a conversation. No decisions have been made yet, but whether your time on this beach will be limited in the future, only time will tell.
And that was Coast TV's Emma Aiken reporting. Now, at the city's meeting, commissioners did mention how Rehoboth is the only beach town in the area without a curfew right now, so people may naturally come to Rehoboth to exercise more freedom. The city says the curfew will be considered at their meeting on May 16th. Well, start your engines. Get ready for OC Bike Fest 2025. The Ocean City Council and Kickin' Events LLC have now agreed on a contract to have OC Bike Fest for the next 2 years. According to Kickin' Events, they want to put more of a focus on the vendors. They want to make sure bands are playing throughout the day, and they also want to have motorcycles ride along the boardwalk 2 times rather than just once.
They have to eat, they have to have some place to stay. So from a business standpoint, we love events like this.
And OC Bike Fest begins September 10th. Gives the town just 127 days to prepare for this year's event. Also in Ocean City, legislation that would have limited the amount of outdoor displays that a business can have in Ocean City, it failed last night. It also would have set stricter standards for where those displays are allowed to be. Ahead of the ordinance being tabled, several business owners claimed the new rules were unfair. Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan hopes the extra time gives businesses and the town a chance to work toward a solution.
We've remanded it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, made it very clear they need to attend those meetings, give their testimony. Maybe we can find some common ground that'll make some of the changes that we're looking for, and at the same time, be something they can make an adjustment to.
Meehan says no new rules will go into effect this summer. Moving to national politics tonight, at the White House today, President Donald Trump met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Carney's Liberal Party won federal elections last week following a campaign that, as Julia Benbrook reports, largely focused on pushing back against Trump's steep tariffs and threats to annex Canada.
This visit by Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney follows President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff blitz, which has undermined America's long-standing relationship with Canada. Those tariffs also inadvertently helped Carney consolidate political power. In a rebuke to Trump, Canada's Liberal Party, with Carney as its leader, won federal elections last week. This White House visit comes amid Trump's ongoing trade war.
We have some tough points to go over, and that'll be fine.
Trump has also made threats to Canada's sovereignty in recent months, repeatedly saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state, a point he echoed again during Tuesday's meeting and one that Carney quickly rejected.
It would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
Just moments before welcoming Carney to the White House, Trump took to social media to slam Canada, saying in part, "We don't need anything they have other than their friendship, which hopefully we will always maintain," adding, "They, on the other hand, need everything from us." During today's sit-down, Carney said that he looks forward to continuing to find areas of mutual cooperation. Canada is America's second biggest trading partner and one of its closest allies on many fronts, from national security to commerce. Reporting at the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
And we are just getting started tonight. Coming up next, trouble trickling into a Maryland post office. Why Denton police have had to increase patrols there. And coming up, a crosswalk debate. Why the city of Salisbury says new art is heading to the Pride crosswalks.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. We're looking for 2 straight days of 78, near 80-degree days on Wednesday and Thursday. Then we drop by 10 degrees on Friday, and that's when the rain comes walking through town. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just 60 seconds. Taking a look at what's happening in Lewis right now, where it's looking relatively clear, but we have temperatures that are going to stay in the lower 60s, and we'll start seeing increasing cloud cover as we progress throughout the rest of the evening hours. Right now, everybody's riding into the 60s, lower or upper, but still in the 60s. Lower in places like Redden as well as Milton, where we're at 60 degrees even. 63 right now in Seaford, Laurel, and Delmar, but we're at 66 degrees in Rehoboth Beach as well as Lewis. Now, the winds are starting to shift a little bit more out of the west, and we're looking for the winds to turn west going into tomorrow, but they're relatively light for right now. We had a small craft advisory that was issued throughout portions of Cambridge. That's been allowed to expire from earlier this evening, but now we're staying very clear. We had some active scattered showers and thunderstorms to our north in Philadelphia, but now that the cold fronts pushed through, in a sense, you would think the temperature would drop a little bit more dramatically, but it simply didn't. It just kind of made all the winds become a little more uniform coming across the Delmarva Peninsula, more in a westerly flow. Now, temperatures will be falling into the 50s with partly cloudy skies for tonight. 57 degrees, for example, the overnight low in Long Neck, Rehoboth, Milton, and Greenwood, just as an example. 55 for the overnight low in Delmar. 78, the expected high in Georgetown and Millsboro. Will warm to 77 degrees in Cambridge as well as Easton, with winds out of the west at 6 to 11 miles per hour. And Snow Hill will warm to 78 degrees, 77 for the high in Berlin. When we begin to break down our expectations with our futurecast, we have temperatures by lunchtime in the mid-70s, a very comfortable day. Now, you got to remember that 72 degrees, that's the normal high for this time of the year. So this is within the ballpark of where we kind of should be anyway. But we'll get a chance to rise a little bit closer towards that 80-degree mark. 77, 78, 79 degrees inland. Won't be quite as warm along the coast, but we'll stay in the 60s for the most part. Thursday, we'll see a couple of blotches of sprinkles. To be honest, I can't even say it's full-out rain. But a few sprinkles here or there, yeah, a spitting sprinkle that may annoy your eyelashes, Yeah, that's what I'm looking for the most part for Thursday. We'll hold off on our chances of rain really for Friday, because Friday we at least have a decent chance of rain, up to a 45% chance of rain. And even with that chance of rain on Friday, when I'm running the latest numbers, everybody's looking like they're going to get maybe a 1/4 of an inch of rain, maybe a 1/2 inch, best case scenario. So I'll take a wider view of this. You can see by Thursday at 6 o'clock, here's the sprinkles we're talking about, the annoying fluttering sprinkles on your eyelashes. Then Friday in the morning at 4:30 in the morning. You have to be a serious weather enthusiast to want to try to catch this rain at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not even that enthusiastic about it. I'm going to be asleep. But do what you wish. It's a free country. 55 for tonight, clearing out quickly. 78 for tomorrow, warming up quickly, and then clouds will go in the increase Thursday, going into Friday's early morning chance of rain. Finally, here's a look at the extended forecast.
Alrighty, thanks again, Paul. Well, the city of Salisbury is looking for new art to replace its Pride crosswalks. The art you see here is at the intersection of South Division Street and Market Street. Mayor Randy Taylor says government assets should not be used to, quote, promote any particular movement or cause. But one local organization in Salisbury says the Pride crosswalk is inclusive for everyone.
Maintained this crosswalk faithfully for the past over 7 years now, with no taxpayers' dollars, all private donations and all private volunteers to make sure that this crosswalk is a representation of the entire community.
We're going to entertain, projects that, they're artful, kind of reflect our history, our culture, our local, feel.
Now, the city says it will pay artists $3,000 for the design and implementation of their art. The art must be installed by September 14th. Well, a small post office in Denton, Maryland is dealing with a rather disturbing situation. Someone has been urinating inside of the post office lobby, and it's led to employees posting these signs. The Denton Police Department says it was first called to the post office last month for urine on the floor. Since then, it's happened around 3 or 4 more times. The police department says the lobby is open 24 hours for those with P.O. boxes, so they've increased patrols.
We've just been doing increased patrols overnight, during the hours that the lobby is still open, that, there's not a normal presence of persons inside.
The police department also says it's suggesting putting cameras inside the post office there in Denton. Coming up next, deadline imminent. Real ID rules go into effect tomorrow. What to do if you still didn't get yours.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Starting Wednesday, the Cardinals, who will choose the next pope, will start to meet behind closed doors in the Sistine Chapel. The conclave will include all 133 cardinals under the age of 80. Staff at the Vatican have been working to ready the chapel for deliberations with the name of each cardinal laid out on the tables there, and they will vote until one cardinal has a 2/3 majority. Well, Wednesday's Real ID deadline looms after 20 years of implementation delays. The Real ID Act was passed by Congress in 2005 following the 9/11 Commission's recommendation that the federal government enhance security standards for identification. Now that the May 7th deadline, it's here, Sherelle Hubbard explains what it means for travelers with or without the new card.
Flyers already frustrated by long lines now have another worry to add to their travel list, the Real ID. It's the Transportation Security Administration's newest requirement, and after 20 years in the making, the deadline is Wednesday.
81% of the travelers that travel by airline in the United States today are already compliant. So they have IDs that already they will be able to use just like they normally always have been.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says 81% of travelers have IDs that are already compliant.
I have a Real ID.
But what about the others?
No, I don't. I do not have the Real ID yet.
No, I don't.
I don't have the Real ID at all.
Some may have a Real ID unbeknownst to them. If you see a star in the upper right-hand corner of your ID, usually a driver's license, you're all set. If you don't because of long wait times at your local Department of Motor Vehicles office or plain old forgetfulness, you're in luck.
We are going to process you.
TSA's Steve Lawrence says although full implementation day is Wednesday, the TSA intends to help flyers through the process. A passport card, and other federally recognized IDs will be accepted. If you do not have the new real ID, you may be diverted to a different line, have an extra step, and ultimately spend more time going through the security process, but you will be allowed to fly.
You will not be turned away.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Coming up in sports tonight, a new Bayside champion will hoist the trophy. North Dorchester and Stephen Decatur battle it out for the conference title. And coming up, preventing pain, how to protect your lower back in tonight's Health Minute.
And here's a look at your golf forecast. Hey, listen, it's going to be a pretty decent day. Not even all that breezy, to be quite honest. More sunshine and highs in the upper 70s.
New tonight, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has filed a petition to protect Medicaid and SNAP benefits from proposed budget cuts. It's a procedural move intended to amplify pressure on moderate Republicans who are anxious about the idea of cuts to the programs. Democrats need 218 votes to force a vote on protecting the programs.
House Republicans are determined to jam a reckless and extreme budget down the throats of the American people that will enact the largest cut to Medicaid and the largest cut to SNAP in American history. Children, families, women, veterans, older Americans, people with disabilities, and everyday Americans will be hurt.
Well, a leading cause of disability in the U.S., lower back pain. It's common. It's estimated that up to 80% of people will experience it at some point in their lives. And in tonight's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has ways to prevent this type of pain. Also, what you can do to get some relief.
From overdoing it at the gym to sitting at your desk all day, you can strain your back from doing too little or too much, and it can have a significant impact on daily life.
Prevention is key, and the way we do it is activity.
Dr. Trishul Kapoor with Cleveland Clinic says muscles support your spine and take weight off your joints. That's why strength training is so important.
When patients say, well, I walk every day, I do other activities, it's not enough. You have to focus on doing specific exercises that strengthen those core muscles in your back.
Kapoor says when you experience back pain, pay attention to persistent symptoms. Don't wait to seek treatment if the pain is still there after a couple of days, especially if it's a new pain you've never experienced before. He says it's important to be evaluated so that you know what's causing the pain.
It could be the muscle, it could be the joints, it could be the ligaments, nerves, or even the central canal where the spinal cord and the nerves are.
Once a doctor evaluates you, Kapoor says appropriate imaging can be done, and once the problem is pinned down, you can get the treatment you need.
Education in terms of the treatments that you're getting and the condition you have is super important, and taking the time to read and having access to the appropriate resources is important.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
A champion will be crowned tonight. For the first time since 2022, Stephen Decatur made it to the conference final. North Dorchester looks to avenge their loss from a season ago in this game. As we get ready for the Bayside Championship game at Salisbury University, we're going to start things off with the Eagles. Bases loaded, no outs. Jules Roman hits a 2 RBI double to make it 2-0 North Dorchester in the top of the first inning, but the Eagles don't stop there. Alexis Myers at the plate has a sacrifice fly. Wongus would tag from third. She is safe at home, giving the Eagles a 3-0 lead. The Seahawks then trying to get out of it, but throw a wild pitch. That would send Roman home, giving the Eagles a 4-0 lead in the first. Moving to the top of the fourth now, Emily Boyle hits a bloop single. A fielding error would send Abby Sam and Kinsley Peters home, while Boyle would slide into third. It is 6-0 North Dorchester, and more movement coming in for the Eagles. Here you see Peters making that 6-0 score, and then North Dorchester All they had to do was get to that final out, and they did exactly that. The Eagles come out on top 7-1 over the Stephen Decatur Seahawks to be your 2025 Bayside champions. That'll for sports. Have a great night, everybody.
Well, take a look at this. It might be an emu. It also might be an ostrich. Either way, this animal showed up Monday on the Pennsylvania Turnpike in King of Prussia. The Pennsylvania State Police turned into bird wranglers as they contained the bird. It reportedly escaped from its owner's trailer. It was later returned to the owner once it was caught.
Well, the owner said, "I lost my bird. Can you go find it?" Crazy story. Okay, our Spicer Brothers camera in Salisbury being a little bit hazy right now, actually. Temperatures in the 50s, 58 by 3 o'clock, and a few scattered clouds in place. Our umbrella giveaway winner is Sandy Winterbottom of Milton. Come by the station and pick it up. We're in your neighborhood there, Sandy. Congratulations. Keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line. The number to call is 443-880-9100. Your forecast, just a call away. Sponsored by the law office of Bruxted, Mandalis, and Federico. And here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Listen, for the next couple of days, we're going to be riding high on the temperatures, at least 6 degrees above the norm for this time of the year, near 80 degrees for Wednesday and Thursday. Now, we will drop below the norm on Friday with cloudy skies and chance of scattered showers. That chance of rain not looking all that awesome, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of rain max. But then we dry out in time for Saturday, Sunday. We warm up to 80 degrees on Mother's Day.
All right, got it. Thanks again, Paul, and thanks so much for joining us for Coast TV News at 11. For some more local news and local weather, you can always download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is up next, and we'll see you back tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.